Well. What's going on? What's going on, Atlanta Falcon fan, man? Y'all know what it is. Your boy Antoine Smith. Stop in right quick. Give you my quick thoughts on a crazy suggestion yesterday. I ran across on Twitter on the Colin Cowherd show. Jason McIntyre, his co-host, came up with one of the most ludicrous thoughts that I had ever heard as an Atlanta Falcon fan. I'm not gonna hold you. I'm gonna let y'all listen to it right quick. And don't be mad at me. Don't shoot the messenger. I just had to post this because just like it might piss y'all off, it's going to piss me off as well. Anyway, it did piss me off. Let's just keep it real. But let's listen to this right quick.
Signs first is going to have the richest contract for a running back in NFL history, eclipsing Saquon Barkley, blah, blah, blah. The next day, the other guy will sign for $1 million more just so he can be the richest running back in NFL history. That's how this game works.
Agreed.
But it's a weird game because these two guys are very similar. So since they entered the league, Robinson has more yards. Gibbs has more tutties. Robinson was first team All-Pro last year. So you would lean Bijan, okay, I'll give him a slight edge.
Agreed.
Important. Neither team made the playoffs. File that away for a moment, okay? Neither team with these star running backs made the playoffs last year.
True.
And then we're having this discussion about, do running backs matter? Well, I don't know. Saquon went from the Giants to the Eagles, was instrumental in helping them get to the Super Bowl, 2,000 yards, yada, yada, yada. Running backs matter again. But this is where it gets interesting, okay? Gibbs cannot leave the Lions under no circumstances. They cannot lose him. Why? Because they're a Super Bowl team. Now, they're a fringe Super Bowl team, but they're definitely in the mix. The schedule is fortuitous. I gave them out yesterday in the over-unders. They could legitimately win that division. Goff, Amon-Ra, Gibbs. It's an awesome offense. Elite.
The reason why I don't agree with that, yes, they have a damn good team, but losing Ben Johnson hurt that team. And you can see how they played on offense last year that losing Ben Johnson hurt. That's true to a certain extent. They could be a pretty good playoff team, but a fringe Super Bowl team, I think they just lit that. They missing that offensive coordinator that can open up the playbook. That's what Ben Johnson brought them just a couple years ago when they had Montgomery and Gibbs, that double-headed monster in the backfield, to lead that team along with Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Sam Laporta could be moving on after this year. Who knows? Or he could get a big contract. But one thing about it, when they lost their offensive coordinator, I think that hurt their team more than anything.
For sure. They're going to be in the mix. We'll see about the defense. But Bijan Robinson is interesting, guys. I don't know what to make of the Falcons. They just got a new coach in Kevin Stefanski, and someone on our morning meeting was like, yeah, the last time Stefanski made the playoffs in Cleveland, he had like a bunch of different running backs and no major superstar due to a bunch of injuries. Jerome Ford, if you remember that name, was a factor. So it's like Stefanski can make, lemonade out of some lemons. He doesn't have a quarterback right now. They're not, forget Super Bowl. I don't even know if the Falcons are a playoff team. And in a weak division, that's not a good sign.
He just answered his own damn question. You don't know if they're good if they're a playoff team. Look at how many games they lost last year with bad special teams, poor clock management and play calling in the red zone. If you fix those problems, that's to me a playoff team. And they have a better offensive staff. So you mean to tell me a team that had 57 sacks last year pretty much got the same defensive unit with the same defensive coaches, just signed two of the top playmakers in Drake London and Kyle Pitts, add more speed to the wide receiver position, and still add another running back in Brian Robinson to complement Bijan? That's not a playoff team? Oh, okay. I was just trying to see.
So I'm going to ask you this.
He finna piss me off.
If you're the Falcons, do you consider trading Bijan Robinson?
Man, please.
And this is why I think it could make sense. I know Falcons fans love Bijan. He's electrifying. How are you going to trade our biggest star? Well, let me ask you about this. Are they going anywhere in the next 2 or 3 years with Bijan Robinson? I think the answer is no. And I look at Christian McCaffrey in Carolina as a blueprint. First 3 years, he's awesome. Where did it get them? Nowhere. So he gets
Man.
hurt the next 2 years, and eventually Carolina decides, you know what? Let's trade him. He goes to the Niners. They get a bunch of picks. And wouldn't you know it, a few years later, the Panthers actually kind of sort of were decent. Christian McCaffrey didn't get them to the playoffs, right? And then they make the move, get a haul of picks. I mean, this isn't the Herschel Walker deal we're talking about here. Those are not happening. But Bijan Robinson's a superstar. And you wonder, is there a fit for Bijan on perhaps a team, I don't know, with a coach who could use him in the run game? Is there maybe a rookie quarterback on the roster? And I'm looking at you, Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears. You guys remember Ben Johnson in Detroit, right? Had Jahmyr Gibbs. You saw what he did with Gibbs. Is there a world where Ben Johnson says, we had a really good run game last year. Despite, offensive line concerns, the run game should be good this year. Do we give that run game jet fuel in the form of Bijan Robinson? Do we go out, make a splashy move? We do what the Rams do. Forget them picks. We're all in. Let's give up some future draft capital. We got a great young roster. We add Bijan Robinson to Caleb Williams, and it might be game over in the NFC North. That team would be a juggernaut. Now, I know the Houston Texans fans are saying, hey, we got room for a running back. It's been an issue. Maybe we bring him to the AFC. But I do think Gibbs is not going anywhere. Lions are not moving off him. But keep an eye on Bijan Robinson with the Christian McCaffrey trade as the blueprint. They actually held on to McCaffrey too long, and he was coming off injuries. Bijan's right now, he could definitely fetch you 2 first-round picks, for sure. And then if you're Atlanta and you're Stefanski, you're like, all right, well, we'll figure out the quarterback spot. Either way, we're building a roster, Seattle Seahawks style, and we'll plug in the quarterback at a later date. So keep an eye.
But I'm going to be real with y'all. I've been on both sides of this coin. And if y'all have followed me, y'all remember me saying a couple of months ago, if somebody gave me three first-round picks with Bijan Robinson, I would absolutely think about it. Why? Because I remember when we had Tyler Algier a couple of years ago, set the rookie record for rushing yards in the 1,000-yard season, right? Very next season, you draft Bijan, another running back, to go as a dual threat, sort of like what Ben Johnson had in Detroit. And he makes logical points. I will give him that. But the reason why I wouldn't even think about trading Bijan, if you don't have a quarterback in place this year or possibly next year, why would you trade your best player? That just doesn't make sense. However, over time, we have seen running backs such as Eric Dickerson, was one of the top running backs at the time, get traded to Indianapolis. Marshall Faulk, traded from Indianapolis to St. Louis. So it's not too far-fetched. However, when he's the key cog of your offense and most of your offense, you just can't make that deal. And one thing I disagree with him about, and I said it earlier, this team is close to the playoffs. A lot of people don't want to admit that. But with the defense they had last year, they could have had a potent offense had it not been for an incompetent play caller and a head coach that couldn't manage the clock. Raheem Morris would probably still be here. But you bring in a coach, a Kevin Stefanski, a Alex Van Pelt, Tommy Eaststrand, guys can develop quarterbacks and a staff that can develop quarterbacks. This team is closer than we think. But trading Bijan, a guy coming on back-to-back 1,400-yard seasons, he's had roughly about 21 touchdown running the last 3 seasons. I think he had about 800 yards receiving last year. To go along with that, 800 yards, over 800 yards receiving to go along with the 1,400 yards rushing. Now, don't get me wrong. If Tyler Algier was still here and you have a Brian Robinson as a third running back, it's something you could think about. Because if it could garner you 3 first-round picks for one player, and you can build your foundation off of those 3 players, I would absolutely think about it. But since I don't think it's going to happen, Could not do it. So I know a lot of y'all pissed about him saying that, but he made logical points. But there's pros and cons to it. On one hand, if I can get 3 first-round picks, I would definitely think about it. On the other hand, he's your key weapon on offense, and the offense is built around him. You can't do it. But if you did do it, you still have Drake London and Kyle Pitts and these weapons on offense. At receiving tight end. And you have Bijan Robinson, a guy who I think can run for 1,000 yards. If Tyler Algier was here, I would absolutely think about it, but he's not. But let me know what y'all think about this, man. Drop those comments. Let's debate. Let's have fun as always, man. Y'all know how we do it on Sports Machine. This your boy Antoine Smith signing off. I will holler at y'all soon, man. Peace.